There was always this big speculation. It was soon after FP2, so Ricciardo just hurt his hand. Like, we were asking AlphaTauri, like Ricciardo was off in hospital having scans, and like there was a toilet opposite me, and I just saw Liam Lawson walking there. I was like, that was Liam Lawson. And, like, he was in there for ages, and we were like, Liam Lawson in that toilet. And, like, my colleagues near me, and they're like, should we go talk to him? I was like, no, you cannot talk to him. He was in the no. So yeah, like maybe that's when he found out the news was in that random toilet. Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to On Track GP, where we are building up for Monza, the Italian Grand Prix, the big one. I have unnecessarily low expectations for Ferrari, but we're going to get into it. Maybe we are going to step up and have a better week. But I am joined today by the man in the eye of the storm that knows everything about Formula One from Planet F1, Sam Cooper. Sam, how are you?
That's quite a billing, thank you. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah,
intimidated. I like to build you up and sort of, really, you're the man with the knowledge.
Thank you. Yeah, can you like ring me in the mornings, like get me going for the day, like ready for it?
Really big build up.
Yes.
Firstly, it's been like months since we've had you in the studio because you've been out at a lot of the races, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I've actually been in the last two, weirdly. So I went to Zandvoort the weekend, and then I went to Spa before the summer break. So yeah, that was quite an experience. And then Silverstone. Few races before that, getting lost really.
Well, we missed you. Is there one big standout moment from one of the races that you feel like this is pretty cool that this is happening, for example?
Well, I had a lot of cool interviews. So like I spoke to Pierre Gasly, spoke to Christian Horner, so that was always cool. But like, I think I just loved the Dutch Grand Prix. It was like my favourite experience of a Grand Prix. Like if anyone doesn't know, Zandvoort's like right on the beach, so it's like very much a beach vibe, and like obviously there's thousands of Max fans. Like I've never seen so much orange in my life. Like the only problem was the media centre was like right next to like the fan zone. So I heard like Euro techno pop for about 5 days, and I was going insane by Sunday afternoon. I was like, they've got to stop this. I just heard Super Max over and over again.
Yeah, just an undercurrent. Non-stop. Well, Monza, I mean, it's an amazing track. It always delivers a good race just simply because you stick your foot down and you don't take it off for about 80 minutes. You excited? One of your favourite races?
Yeah, it's always good. I mean, just away from the racing, like just to see all those Ferrari fans, like they pour, like I know Imola's, yep, you're there. I know Imola's technically closer to the Maranello base, but like Monza's always been their home race, and like I was talking about Max fans, like it's the same with Ferrari fans. They just go all in. Even if the team's not doing as well as they would hurt, which has been like that for ages. But yeah, I think we've had 4 different winners the last 4 years, so like it's an interesting race.
It's interesting that you say that because there is something building here called Monza Curse. Well, for those of you that haven't heard of the Monza Curse, it's this. The winner, it's only been going on for 4 years, so I don't know if we can quite call it a curse yet, but the winner of the race the next year then crashes out or doesn't finish. So in 2019, Charles Leclerc won in Monza and then crashed out in 2020. In the 2020 race, Pierre Gasly won, but then crashed in the sprint race the following year in 2021 and retired from the main race as well. Then in the 2021 race, Daniel Ricciardo won it, but breaks down the next year in 2022. And who won it last year in 2022 at Monza?
Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen. Is he going to crash out and not break the record for most consecutive wins because of the Monza curse? Unlikely.
Yes, I was going to say, if there's one man you want to break a curse, his name's Max Verstappen in 2023. He's just unstoppable. I mean, it could happen, like maybe something happens, but we've seen how many races so far this year, they've had no reliability issues. He's not coming even close to crashing. Like,
could be a bit of weather potentially in Monza. Looking at still a bit away.
But we had weather in Zandvoort, and he still won. So
he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a bit of a machine at the moment.
While we're on this Max Verstappen topic, do you think, I was talking to David Coulthard about this yesterday, do you think, number one, he will break the record and go 10 consecutive races? Let's answer that one first.
Yes.
Okay, I assumed that was going to be the answer. And part B of that is, do you think he will win every race for the remainder of the season?
Ooh, that's a bit tricky. I mean, how many races have we got left? Like 8 or 9? Yeah, there's the different ones. I think the only chance someone else has of winning, another team, not Red Bull, is once the championship's won, which is going to be very soon, I think, like Singapore or something like that, they could possibly do it. It's creeping up. And I think once that happens, Red Bull obviously switch entirely their focus into 2024. Maybe then these other teams like Aston Martin have said that like they're going to keep developing the whole year kind of thing. So like, yeah, maybe that's the one chance. But then again, like if you've got a chance to win every race, like maybe, and if your car is so far ahead as theirs is, like you've got a little bit of room to play with that you can keep. I don't think they're going to any more like serious upgrades to their car this year. I mean, it's pretty pretty set already.
Where do you make perfection better?
You can't make it much better than it is currently. And they've still got such a massive advantage over everyone else, really.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's the only chance. Like, maybe also Vegas, just purely because it's a new race. They've never driven it before. Yes, they've done like hundreds of hours in the sim already on it, but like, it's a different thing actually in the track, like kind of thing. And I saw a photo someone took of the track, like as it's being built currently.
And
like,
the Vegas track.
Yeah, the Vegas one. I think it was like turn 8, and they've got that massive ball, and I don't know, is that going to be on? Like, I don't know if people have seen it, but it's like a big LED ball that like displays stuff. And I was like, if you're driving like 200 miles an hour, that's one of the most distracting things I've ever seen.
An LED ball.
Yeah, so maybe he sees that and like careers off into the side. But yeah, other than some massive ball like damage to his car, I think it's looking quite unlikely that he's not going to win every race at least.
I think certainly Red Bull will win every race. But let's move on to Sergio Perez very quickly. He's said that he feels that the issue with the RB19 is the same as last year, where the upgrades essentially work more in favour for Verstappen than him.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think they quite like different style cars. I think Max is quite a big fan of oversteer. He just sort of he likes that. And I think most racing drivers tend to like oversteer more than understeer. But yeah, I think that makes sense. Like we saw it last year as well. Like Sergio said, like he started off really well, and then suddenly Max sort of got really into groove with the car. And like I think that's natural. Like Red Bull obviously going to sort of lean on what Max likes more because he's proven himself the more consistent of the driver. And like if they're going to guess where they're going to get wins and podiums from, it's going to be from Max. So you might as well like make the car good for him. And like yes, that's just unfortunate for Sergio, but like. I don't think you can like still use as an excuse for finishing 20 odd seconds behind his teammate in Spa, like, and like sometimes I mean yes, the car might not be great for him, but he missed out on Q3 about 5 times in a row, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So like there's a little bit of excuse. If he was losing by 1 or 2 seconds every race, then maybe that's a bit more understandable. But like he came 4th.
He's getting chopped by Max, absolutely chopped into. Like when Sergio pitted earlier. In the race last week with the rain onto the intermediate tyres, and then Max came in a lap later. I think Sergio was like sort of 15 seconds ahead or something, and I think he cost him about 4 laps.
Yeah, that was
just
the big thing.
Absolutely disgusting. Like that is criminal. I couldn't believe how disappointed I was with Sergio. There was a moment where he came out 15 seconds ahead. I thought, holy moly, he could actually win this race. Yeah. And then I remembered that Max Verstappen was behind him. I think the inevitable happened.
Sergio got annoyed that Max got the second stop onto the slicks, but I think if you were someone in Red Bull, you were like, well, you had a 14-second advantage. Like, if you can't make that last or like keep it over the course of a few laps, then it's just Max drove better than you. Like,
forget it.
Yeah. And I think Sergio, unfortunately, is like a driver that's quite confidence orientated. So I think Max
can't be good
probably
for you,
the worst team that you could have for that. He's just relentless beating you down. Like, so yeah, I think Sergio's got a settle for second best this year.
Yeah, or maybe third if Alonso catches him.
Yes.
We'll get to that in a second. My boys, Ferrari. I'm sort of in the quite difficult position, Sam, where I'm a very passionate guy, and I like to think with my heart, not my head.
Completely biased.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And my heart is like, hey, this is our home Grand Prix. They've got a cool new livery where they look like McDonald's workers in the red and the yellow, which I actually love, by the way. I think it's really, really cool. We're always, we know that they have been planning for this race for so long, we're going to get a podium. And then I remember that we're Ferrari, and we did a pit stop with no tyres last week.
Yep.
And my sort of optimism for the week disappears. Realistically, what do you think the hopes can be for Ferrari this week?
I think probably a bit better than they were in Zandvoort. I mean, they just were off the pace. I mean, I think Sainz said they're the 6th quickest car behind Alpine as well.
Oh my God.
A real kick in the teeth. And this track might suit them, but they're saying that like, what is this Ferrari car good at? Like, I think you can point to other teams like Williams. You can say they're really good at the straights, and like you can sort of find every car what it's good at. And then with this Ferrari one, you're sort of struggling to find a place where it's really good. Like, and I think yes, it's their home race, but that's probably just even more pressure on the team. Like, and maybe they crumble under that because they've done that a few times before. But yeah, I mean, a podium's not out of the rain. Like, we're in this sort of a weird season behind Red Bull where anyone can sort of do better than the other team than the week before. Like, we saw McLaren have really two really good races, and they sort of weren't that great in Zandvoort kind of thing. Like, it really like switches between these teams, and maybe Ferrari just sort of hoping that it's their turn to have a bit of success, really.
Well, do you know what? Like, I'm trying to think the last time that I felt like that we had some sort of proper celebrations of Ferrari, and I think it's probably Azerbaijan, where Charles Leclerc got the double podium in the sprint and in the race didn't convert it into a win. But that was probably the last time where I was like, hey, there's something. It's a good quali car at the very least, and will be towards the front. But since then, it's been poor. I mean, I thought Carlos did pretty well last weekend to kind of really, as much as anything else, to stay out of trouble and finish in an okay-ish position. I think it was 5th in the end. But Carlos has come out and said that he expects the car to be should be back to a decent pace. He said this week.
Well, it couldn't get much worse.
Couldn't get much slower, could it? It's not quite a tractor, but it's nearly there. I mean, we'll see. I just, hopefully the energy of being in Italy and it being a red car, flying around the track, and one or two things can happen. And I'd love a podium. But more than that, I just want both cars to finish. That's where my expectations are now.
How low they are.
Oh, God.
I mean, it could happen. Like, I could see a Charles Leclerc podium. I think he's the more likely of the two out of Sainz and Leclerc. But yeah, I think, why not?
Right.
Why not?
Come on, please. Let's move to Mercedes, which I think could be quite an interesting battle between the Ferrari and the Mercedes at this track. What do you think loosely will be their realistic expectations for the week?
I mean, I think everyone's just sort of aiming for that third podium spot. Like, that's probably the goal for a lot of these teams.
Assuming a Red Bull 1-2, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, that sort of seems like the given. Maybe they think Perez is catchable, but I think even Perez has sort of turned it on a little bit the last few races. So yeah, I think everyone's sort of battling out for that P3 spot, and like Mercedes have got the advantage in the championship, but like as I've said, like it's really swung. Like Aston Martin seem to have been on a bit of a rise in the last race, so maybe they continue that. Like it's really hard to predict like who's going to be good where kind of thing. So yeah, I think Mercedes, I think their problem in Zandvoort, which is a rare thing for Mercedes, you don't really see them. Like they just made some like strategy errors and they were just sort of indecisive. They were like, no, we're going to stay out, and then like 2 laps later, they're like, no, we're going to come in, which is just the worst of both worlds. Like they could have done like Alex Albon did, where he stayed out and eventually made it work. Like, so yeah, that was just sort of something you don't overly see with Mercedes. Like, not to dig on you, but that seems to be like the trait of Ferrari more than Mercedes.
You're right.
Mercedes are known for getting it done, doing the job well. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a blip. I mean,
and Toto gave a scathing review about that as well after the race, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some crosswords, I'd imagine, on Monday, Tuesday after the race. But I think once it's back to Monza, they should be back to their best. And I think the encouraging thing for them was George Russell seems to have shaken off this little bit of poor form he had. He had a really good qualifying to get P3. I think maybe he can kick on there, even though Toto Wolff was saying he's not had a bad run of form, and it's like, well, it's not been great. Yeah. So yeah, I think maybe that's the one positive they can take out of the Zandvoort weekend and like go into Monza with that idea. Okay.
Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso, back to his otherworldly best last week.
Yeah, he was just incredible. Like another brilliant drive. Like that. I think that first overtake in the first lap where he just goes on the inside of the bank really showed that, like how good he is.
His racecraft.
Yeah, I think that's always been his strongest characteristic, and like that's really helped Aston Martin this year. He's making Stroll look a bit bad, like he's still getting nowhere near Alonso, and I think that's another question for another day. But like, why not? Why can't they get Alonso? I mean, I've given a podium to everyone so far.
There's 7 podium places.
Yeah, everyone's doing great. But yeah, like they're another team that's in it. I mean, they're a team that sort of suits low speed corners a bit more, and like Monza's not really that kind of track. And so maybe that'll be their downfall. Maybe they'll take Ferrari's place of being like the 6th best car on the grid. But like, I think it might be a more difficult weekend. But then again, I think you're foolish if you try and rule out Alonso doing anything really.
Yeah, Lance Stroll will move to him. He's actually going to sit out of FP1 so that Felipe Drugovich can come in. And I think we saw the same with Ferrari last week. Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, like this is a FIA rule that they have to have 2 young drivers, so 2 rookies, which is essentially a driver who's done 2 or fewer Grand Prix. They have to do 2 practice sessions every year. We get into that point of the year where a lot of teams are like, oh crap, we haven't done that yet, so we better get him out there, there. And so I think, that's just, this is a good track for him. I saw him a lot actually in Zandvoort, so I was sort of surprised he wasn't doing it then, but he's going to take up the reins, and like, that shouldn't be too bad for Lance Stroll. Like, I think he's raced at Monza quite a few times, so he should be all right.
Yeah, but also just generally, Lance Stroll is just having an absolute stinker.
Yeah, I mean, weirdly, his best form of the season came when he was recovering from broken wrist.
Yeah, I know.
At the start of the season, like he was doing really well, and now he's just sort of that gap between him and Alonso is just like getting bigger and bigger, and like I think if his name wasn't the same as the owner's one, then I think there'd be a lot more question marks about him. But like, I mean, if Aston Martin do end up losing out, I mean, they probably will lose out P2 to Mercedes, and if they do end up losing out to P4, like to Ferrari, then does not look good for Stroll.
No,
so
I mean, at what point do they replace him?
Yeah, I mean, Alonso's carrying his team on his own, really,
and then some.
Yeah, so yeah.
Let's have a look at Alpine. Now, I've just sort of put 2 and 2 together here in my head. Are Alpine having a better season than Ferrari? Because they've had both drivers on the podium.
Yeah,
Ferrari haven't had both drivers on the podium.
Yeah, Alpine are one of 3 teams. I think Red Bull, Mercedes, and Alpine have had both drivers on the podium this year. And Alpine's bizarre. I love this, how they achieve stuff like this. I mean, if you went to this weekend, you said, right, this is a team that have lost the team principal. It seemed like they're in quite big disarray. They're nowhere near where they want to be.
And they had a double DNF back to back, 2 races in a row.
DNFs, a mess. It's mad. And then you're like, oh yeah, Gasly's going to get P3. You're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, they absolutely played the conditions really well, and Gasly was really good. I think the way Gasly defended from Sainz was really impressive the whole race, and ended up being crucial because he kept him behind. And
you got an exclusive from Pierre, didn't you?
I don't want to say I'm a good luck charm, but if Pierre wants to talk to me every Thursday before a race, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, but yeah, good. Yeah, clearly.
He was talking to you about the team principal, right?
Yeah, so we spoke about a lot of things really, and the one thing he mentioned, I did ask him about the team principal. I mainly asked him how much input does he have into that? We were talking about how much input he's having into the car next year. Is he going to suggest what he likes in Alpine as a team principal? Because if you think about his career, he's only ever had 2 team principals. At Red Bull, he had Christian Horner and Franz Tost at AlphaTauri / Toro Rosso. And yet now he's in Alpine, he's already had the same amount of team principals. It's been 6 months or whatever it is. So yeah, I was asking about that, but then he did sort of say that Bruno Famin is going to be in charge to the end of this year. I'm not sure I don't think that was common knowledge yet. So nice. At least till the end of the season, he's going to be in charge. I mean, how much that works, how much he can juggle 2 roles, we'll see. But yeah,
that's it.
That's a bit of a...
We love a Planet F1 exclusive, Sam. Let's go. Moving across to McLaren. And we're never that far away from a Helmut Marko quote. Yep. The guy just loves to say stuff. He's recently said that he, quotes, could imagine Lando Norris driving for the team alongside Max Verstappen, and that's raising suspicions that he could be in contention to replace Sergio Perez. Is it a Helmut Marko-ism, or do you think there's some realism behind that?
I don't think he'll replace Sergio Perez. I can't see a situation where Lando joins Red Bull next year. I think that just doesn't make sense really. He's got such a long McLaren contract. He's frequently said that he wants to stay at McLaren. The fact they're doing okay now is obviously making him want to stay even more. Christian Horner said that Sergio Perez is going to be in the seat next year, and there's just so many things pointing towards. I mean, if Helmut Marko hadn't said that, no one would be talking about it. It's not the big secret of the paddock. It's Helmut Marko just says what he wants really. It gets picked up, and everyone talks about it. I mean, Max interestingly revealed that they had spoken about being teammates, him and Lando, at some point, but whenever that comes, they're both young guys. They might happen in the future. But
I mean, that would be killer. That as a pairing would just, particularly if it was in the RB19, for example, holy moly, that would be crazy what they would be able to deliver.
Yeah, but then interestingly, Helmut Marko also said that he doesn't want to have a number 1 driver. Oh no, sorry, he doesn't want 2 number 1 drivers. So if you got Lando in, what does that mean?
Helmut Marko just says stuff, man.
Oh yeah, he just put a microphone in and just say stuff over and over again. I'm sure Christian was tearing his hair out every time he reads what Helmut said last time. But yeah, I mean, obviously it'd be a great driver pairing. How realistic it is, I don't know. For Red Bull's, I'm sure they've got the money, but Red Bull's bank budget would take quite a hit if they paid off his McLaren contract and then paid him to stay with the team.
McLaren have done so well over since, was it Silverstone was their first big step forward, or was it the week
Austria,
before?
Lando had the upgrades, and then Silverstone, they both had them. So yeah, from Austria for Lando and then Oscar.
They've been electric, and they look like the second quickest car. I mean, let's forget Zandvoort for a second, because it didn't work out anywhere nearly as well as they hoped it would. But generally, they look great.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they've just that car is night and day between what it was at the start of the season. I think the mood around the MTC was ridiculously dark at the start of the year. And now, since Austria, they've really kicked on. They've, like you said, they've probably got the second quickest car on certain circuits. Ones will favour them more than others. I think Monza's one that should favour them. They've got a quick straight line car. It's just all rosy really. They've got 2 great drivers. life's good. Really.
Another very good pairing and a young pairing. I mean, if they can keep improving this car over the next few years and keep both of them there, we could see McLaren back at their best.
Yeah, I think that's their hope, really. Like, sort of, that's why they gambled and paid off a not significant amount to Daniel Ricciardo to make him leave. I think it was like 18 million just to not drive for us, and then obviously they got to pay Piastri. So yeah, it was a big gamble, but it seems to have worked so far. Like, he's got a sprint podium. He's come close to a race podium. Like, yeah, it's all going well for Oscar Piastri. Let's
have a little talk about Zhou Guanyu, because there's some little rumblings that he might not be in F1 for much longer.
Yeah, I mean, this was a surprise, really. I think he was sort of guaranteed a seat next year. I think a lot of people would have said a few weeks ago, but then sort of there's been this rumour circulating that Alfa Romeo looking to get rid, really, and like sort of they've got this young driver called Thierry Pouchet who's doing really well in F2, and like he's probably in like the Oscar Piastri kind of category of like really highly rated, and maybe they've seen what happened to Alpine, like we don't want that to happen to us, like what do we do? And like Valtteri Bottas has got a contract for a few more years, and like maybe when Zhou's runs out at the end of this year, they're just going to roll the dice. But I think it would be quite harsh for him. Like, yes, he's got hardly any points.
I don't think he's been that bad. I think he's kind of stayed up with Bottas, and Bottas is a bit of a proven entity.
I mean, if you look at his points tally, like it does look bad. But then again, that Alfa Romeo car is just dreadful. Like,
it's horrible.
Bottas' points peg. I think the Alfa car, I'm probably going to say it's the slowest car on the grid. So like, what do you expect from your drivers? Yeah, like I think, what do you expect from your drivers? So yeah, I think it would be quite a harsh decision. Like, but clearly, I don't know if there's any smoke without fire. Like, they might be considering it just to make sure they get Thierry Pouchet in their team and not off at McLaren or somewhere like that, the equivalent.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I can't see Alfa Romeo getting any success really this week in Monza. It seems like the track's too quick for them to make any.
Yeah, and I think we're in this weird like holding pattern until Audi come in, like, which is saying something because it's still 3 years away.
Yeah, it's
like,
a long time.
There's a lot of racing to go. Like, so yeah, I think they can't. I mean, they've frequently said they're not just waiting for Audi to come in, but not a lot's happening.
Liam Lawson in the Alpha Tauri. I mean, what a spectacular drive that was, and they've confirmed.
I have a story about Liam Lawson.
Whoa, here we go.
Like, what day was it he got confirmed? Friday. Yeah. So.
Yeah. When did he? Yeah, he crashed FP2. So
Friday. So like, the media sent like obviously there's toilets, everyone like, and usually like no drivers in there. It's just sort of the media place, like why would drivers come in? And like there was always this big speculation. It was soon after FP2, so Ricciardo just hurt his hand. Like we were asking AlphaTauri, like Ricciardo was off in hospital having scans, and like there was a toilet opposite me, and I just saw Liam Lawson walking there. I was like, that was Liam Lawson. And, like, he was in there for ages, and we were like, Liam Lawson, that toilet. And, like, my colleagues near me, and they're like, should we go talk to him? I was like, no, you cannot talk to him. He was in the loo. So yeah, like maybe that's when he found out the news was in that random toilet. Yeah, it was just so like.
And he literally went, I need to go to the bathroom right now.
Yeah, we thought maybe he didn't want to show any like intimidation in front of the Red Bull people, so he's like, I'll go use a spare toilet.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, it worked, because he did
Lucky
to
toilet.
keep the car on the track under those horrible conditions with one practice session, then straight into quali, was spectacular. I was really impressed.
I think it was a very difficult first race. Like, the conditions
and the
were
track
mad.
on its own is hard.
Yeah, it's not a track. I don't think he's driven that much. Like, it's not one that's used that often. And like, so it's a great performance from him. Like, yes, he didn't score points, but like after one practice session, I think that's a good run. And it's interesting to see what he'll do this weekend when he's got the full complement of practice sessions.
Well, this is it. AlphaTauri have confirmed that he's going to stay in that car until Daniel Ricciardo is back, and which could be a while. I mean, the guy's broken. He's got a metal thing put into his wrist. It's going to build up that strength again. Is going to take some time. So Liam Lawson could have a real run at getting some proper races back to back here, which is really exciting for him. Yeah,
it's exciting for him, but at the same time, it's quite it's just unlucky for Ricciardo, isn't it?
I know.
Like, he had 2 races back in the car, then it has a crash. It's not really his fault. He was just trying to get out, not hit Oscar Piastri, and like crashed into a wall. And like, I think the way he did it, he was just so convinced he could save it. He kept his hands on the wheel too long and just smashes it. Like they always say, take your hands off as soon as possible.
Yes.
But like, I mean, Christian always said it was a clean break, which I'm not really sure what that means.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, like,
I don't know.
It's a good or bad thing. Like, but yeah, if you're a racing driver, that's probably the worst thing to break is your hands. But he's on to Lance Stroll's doctor, so like, whatever that guy did to Lance Stroll,
made him a better driver somehow.
Yeah. He's got him back in 2 weeks after a broken wrist.
Yeah, I get the sense that Daniel Ricciardo will be kind of upset about that, because he had the opportunity to maybe even go and fight for a Red Bull seat if he delivered massively in the AlphaTauri, but he's going to lose. Well, he's already lost now 2. It could be 4 or 5 races that he loses here, and that's his chance to show, hey, look, I'm back, I'm ready, and I can compete at the top level, and that's tough for him.
Yeah, it's just dreadful timing. It was the first race back from the summer break. Like, if he did it at Spa, that's bad because he's got a few weeks to recover. Maybe he misses Zandvoort, maybe he misses Monza. But yeah, now we've got 3 races pretty close to each other. Like, yeah, it's pretty.
And Monza's a great track for him. We know he's won there in the McLaren, wasn't it?
He did win. Yeah, he's one win in the McLaren. Yeah. So yeah, like, it's obviously a track he enjoys, but he won't be there, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's tough. At Williams, so Williams last year was when Nick de Vries came in as the reserve for one race and scored a point.
That seems like 6 years ago.
I know, it really does. Yeah. And it was the only point he ever scored in F1 in that Williams, and everyone's going, oh my God, he's going to be amazing, he's amazing. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out for him, and yet, less than 12 months later, he's racing for a different team, but sacked.
Yeah.
So really tough. But again, we've got another rookie in coming for a race, so it'll be interesting to see what Lawson can do there. But looking for Williams, Logan Sargent, I mean, he qualified beautifully to get into Q3. And then, what do you think this is? Is it a pressure thing that he got to him and he just crashed out in Q3? Did he push too hard?
Maybe,
went, I don't want to do this anymore!
Maybe, like I was saying of Lawson, there's a lot of drivers who had no experience in Zandvoort. I think Oscar Piastri had never driven there before the weekend.
That's mad.
Logan Sargent with the same boat, really. Like, it's not a track they use a lot in the junior categories. So, he probably just never experienced. Like you said, I think getting to Q3, regardless of how it ended, was a great achievement for him. It's the first time he's done it. And this Williams car is like an absolute bullet on the straight lines, which in Monza's could be ideal. Like,
really
I can't wait to see them bomb down the big straight, see how they do. So yeah, it could be maybe not points to him, but Alex Albon, definitely watch out.
Oh man, Alex Albon will be licking his lips at the idea of racing around Monza in this, as you say, this Williams that's just kind of out of nowhere. If there's no distractions and it's going straight, it's like electric.
It wins a drag race easily.
Yeah,
it's so fast in the straight line. I know I've given a podium to about 8 different people, but I think Albon's within contention of it. Depending on where he qualifies.
Albon potential for a podium.
He got P4 in Zandvoort and qualifying, just got let down. But yeah, if he. I don't see a reason why not. He's going to finish DNF. He's going to
he's crashed
20th. Yeah, but in theory, that Williams car is very quick on straight lines, and this is the track you want to be quick on.
Yeah. I mean, it is literally the circuit where you put your foot down and you take it off about twice around the whole circuit, and that's it. So it is the perfect car for Williams. Let's do some very early predictions. This is pre-qualifying or anything. People could still take engine penalties, and so we don't know. But assuming that we don't have anything that's going to knock back the initial starting positions. Who are your top 3 come Sunday afternoon?
The top 2 are quite easy, aren't they? Liam Lawson, no.
Maybe.
Max Verstappen to win,
yeah.
Sergio Perez second, and then it's a real toss-up who you'd pick on the P3.
I agree with, I mean, you can't, it's difficult to disagree in any way on those top 2. I think it has to be.
I mean, you could literally pick a name out of a hat.
Lando Norris.
Yeah, why
not? That's where I'm going.
Say Lando Norris. If you're saying Lando, I would say Oscar Piastri. Let's go with McLaren.
We're going for the McLaren. I mean, it should be quick in a straight line.
It is a quick car on the straight line. I was half tempted to say Albon, but maybe that's a step too far. But yeah, I love P4, I'd say P4 or for Albon.
Really? You really think he's going to do special?
Really car. Yeah, and he's a really good driver. So.
Really exciting. Really, really, really exciting. Well, this is the 93rd Monza race that we're having. I mean, it will be on the circuit forever because it's so famous and so spectacular, and we are going to be covering it all over the weekend. Very, very, very excited to get into this one. Alex Albon, I like that. Alex Albon
P4. If they do bettings for that, bet on P4. I don't think that's even a market.
Not endorsed. We're not endorsed for that. But just if you want, Sam Cooper, he told you to. Sam, thank you so much, mate. Welcome. Appreciate you coming in and having a chat about this today. And as I said, we're going to be covering it all over the weekend from the quali into the live stream on the race on Sunday as well. So join us for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us at On Track GP, and we will see you very soon. Forza Ferrari, but probably not.